صلوات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Hasnain Abbas.
Hasnain Abbas will read for us.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Fatima al-Zahra, the daughter of the Prophet, peace be upon them, is to have thus related an event. My father, the Prophet of Allah, came to my house one day and said to me, "Peace be upon you, Fatima." I replied, "And upon you be peace." Then he said, "I feel weakness in my body." I said, "Allah protects you from weakness, father." He said, "Fatima, please bring the Yemeni cloak and cover me with it." So I brought the Yemeni cloak and covered him with it. Then I looked at him and saw that his face was shining like a full moon with its glory and splendor. After a while, my son Hassan came in and said, "Peace be upon you, mother." I replied, "And upon you peace, O light of my eyes and the delight of my heart." He then said, "Mother, I smell a fragrance so sweet and so pure as that of my grandfather, the Prophet of Allah." I replied, "Yes, your grandfather is lying underneath the cloak." Hassan went near the cloak and said, "Peace be upon you, my grandfather, the Prophet of Allah. May I enter the cloak with you?" He replied, "And upon you peace, my son and my master of my fountain. You are given the permission to enter." So Hassan entered the cloak with him. After a while, my son Hussein came in and said, "Peace be upon you, mother." I replied, "And upon you peace, O light of my eyes and the delight of my heart." He then said, "Mother, I smell a sweet fragrance like that of my grandfather, the Prophet of Allah." I replied, "Yes, your grandfather and your brother are lying underneath the cloak." Hussein stepped towards the cloak and said, "Peace be upon you, my grandfather, the chosen of Allah. May I enter the cloak with you?" He replied, "And upon you peace, my son and the interceder of my followers. You are given the permission to enter." So Hussein entered the cloak with them. After a while, Abu Hassan Ali ibn Abi Talib came in and said, "Peace be upon you, O daughter of the Prophet of Allah." He replied, "And upon you peace, O father of Hassan and the commander of the faithful." He then said, "Fatima, I smell a sweet fragrance like that of my brother, my cousin, the Prophet of Allah." He replied, "Yes, he is underneath the cloak with your two sons." So Ali went near the cloak and said, "Peace be upon you, Prophet of Allah. May I enter the cloak with you?" He replied, "And upon you peace, my brother, my legatee, my successor, and my standard bearer. You are given the permission to enter." So Ali entered the cloak with them. And I stepped forward and said, "Peace be upon you, my father, O Prophet of Allah. May I enter the cloak with you?" He replied, "And upon you peace, my daughter, O part of myself. You are given the permission to enter." So I entered the cloak with them. Getting together underneath the cloak, my father, the Prophet of Allah, held the two ends of the cloak and raised his right hand towards the heavens and prayed, "O Allah, these are the people of my household, Ahlul Bayt. They are my confidants and my supporters. Their flesh is my flesh and their blood is my blood. Whoever hurts them hurts me too. Whoever displeases them displeases me too. I am at war with those at war with them. I am at peace with those at peace with them. I am the enemy of their enemies and I am the friend of their friends. They are from me and I am from them. O Allah, bestow your blessings, benevolence, forgiveness, and your pleasure upon me and upon them, and remove impurity from them and keep them thoroughly pure." Then the Lord Almighty Allah said, "O my angels, O residents of my heavens, verily I have not created the erected sky, the stretched earth, the illuminated moon, the bright sun, the rotating planets, the flowing seas, and the sailing ships, but for you the love of these five lying underneath the cloak." Jibreel, the trusted angel, asked, "Who are under the cloak?" The Almighty answered, "They are the household of the Prophet and the assets of prophethood. They are Fatima, her father, her husband, and her two sons." Jibreel said, "O Lord, may I fly to earth to be the sixth of them?" Allah replied, "Yes, you are given the permission." Jibreel, the trusted, landed near them and said, "Peace be upon you, O Prophet of Allah." The All-Highest conveys his peace on you in his greetings and says, "By my honor and glory, O angels, O residents of my heavens, verily I have not created the erected sky, the stretched earth, the illuminated moon, the bright sun, the rotating planets, the flowing seas, and the sailing ships, but for your sake and love. God has given me permission to enter the cloak with you. May I join you, O Prophet of Allah?" The Prophet replied, "And peace be upon you, O trusted bearer of Allah's revelations. You are granted the permission." So Jibreel entered the cloak with us and said to my father, "Allah sent his revelations to you. Verily Allah is desirous to remove blemish from you, O people of the household, and purify you with a perfect purification." Then Ali said to my father, "O Prophet of Allah, tell me what significance has Allah given for getting together underneath this cloak? The Prophet replied, by him who rightfully appointed me a prophet and chose me a messenger for the salvation of the mankind. Whenever and wherever an assembly of our followers and friends mention this event, Allah will bestow on them His blessings and mercy. Angels will encircle them, asking Allah the remission of their sins until the assembly disperses. So Ali said, verily, with the Lord of the Kaaba, we and our followers are the winners. Then my father replied, by him who rightfully appointed me a prophet and chose me a messenger for the salvation of the mankind. Whenever and wherever an assembly of our followers and friends mention this event, there shall remain none grieved, but Allah will remove his grief. There shall remain none distressed, but Allah will dispel his distress. There shall remain none wish seeker, but Allah will grant his wish. Ali all happily said, verily, by the Lord of the Kaaba, we and our followers are the winners and the blessed in this world and the next.
Thank you for that admission of Lisa Kisa. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Ajil farajah. Right, as we use a couple of small announcements as we wait for Maulana to come. He's on his way. Just please kindly put your cell phones on silent so we don't disturb the majlis. Again, all masks are required inside. No eating or drinking inside the masjid, inshallah. And the niyaz distribution will be outside as usual. If anyone would like to make any contributions towards the niyaz, you can see me, Brother Jafar, Sister Aziza, Sister Taysin. We're happy to give you the information for making a contribution. So as we wait for Maulana, do you have any young ones who would like to read the surah for us? Come on now.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Arman Heather. I would like to read Ayatul Kursi. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسي السماوات والأرض ولا يؤود اسمه الذي لا إكراه في الدين فالتبين رشد من الغيب ومن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى التي لا انقسام لها والله السميع العليم. ألا للذين آمنوا يخرجوهم من الظلمات إلى النور والذين كفروا بالطاغوت يخرجوهم من النور إلى الظلمات أولئك أصحاب النار هم خالدون. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
MashaAllah. You made a good job. MashaAllah. Any other young ones who would like to read? We have a semi-young one.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad Lantar Salawat. This is a short poem about Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Every single day I admire you, Hussain. Every single day I admire you, Hussain. Your message to this world was so humane. Stand up against evils, you beautifully explained. Speak up against injustice. Being silent is insane. Every single day I admire you, Hussein. Every single day I admire you, Hussein. What makes me cry, whole family was in chains. Chains were soaked in blood. Imagine the pain. Heads were bruised, necks were tied, stones were falling just like rain. Decorated streets, humiliating crowds, there was no shame. Every single day I admire you, Hussein. Every single day I admire you, Hussein. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
MashaAllah. Thank you, Dr. Abbas. Again, I'd like to request those of you to kind of move forward as much as possible so we have proper majlis etiquette. So we have some room for those who are coming a little bit later, some room in the back. And again, put your cell phones on silent. And without further ado, I'd like to request Sayyid Azvini to come take the member. Salawat ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. Salli ala Muhammad wa Muhammad.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أنبياء الله جميعا وعلى سيدهم وخاتمهم حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله، صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة. يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فاستجاب لهم ربهم أني لا أضيع عمل عامل منكم من ذكر أو أنثى بعضكم من بعض. صدق الله العلي العظيم. One of the most important and critical themes and subjects that has to be discussed during these 10 days and nights and at every important event is the theme and the subject of how to empower our women in our society. How to create strong, self-confident women, Muslim women in our societies. This is a very important subject. We cannot shy away from it. We still have a crisis when it comes to the role and contribution of women in Muslim societies. We are still behind. We have not done enough we are not compatible with the teachings of the Quran and Ahlul Bayt and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One of the major objections of Gharb, the West, the non-Muslims to Islam, is the way that Muslims treat their women. Is this right or wrong? Maybe it has been exaggerated, but it has some element of the truth. Maybe not in your home here in America, but in the majority of Muslim societies and countries back home. Muslim women are behind. Muslim women have been mistreated, marginalized. They've been neglected for many centuries. Even if you look at Islamic literature, whether it's in the Sunni tradition or Shia tradition, you find that some scholars perceive women as being only means of entertainment for men. They treat them like commodity. They treat them like sex object. Even in our Islamic books, women are secondary. You know what they say about the Friday prayers? They say it is not recommended for women, and Friday prayers is the most important function in Islam. Nothing more important than the Friday prayers. But when you come to the books of jurisprudence, Islamic law, many of them, not all of them, but many, they tell you that it is not recommended for women and children and crazy people to attend the Majnoon, to attend the Friday prayers. They put women with the crazy people. This is how they treat them. Contrary to the spirit of Quran and the Prophet Muhammad and Ahlul Bayt. Women came to the Prophet, they said, Ya Rasulullah, whenever we come to you to speak to you, you are surrounded by men. We can't reach out to you. Ij'al lana yawman, designate a day for us, only for women, to be able to reach you and listen to you and learn from you. So the Prophet designated one day out of the week only for women, dedicated his time, his energy, his knowledge, his wisdom to teach women. And look at his household. Fatima Zahra is a teacher, is a mentor for women. Lady Zainab alayhi salam is a mentor for women. But we have departed from our tradition, from our authentic tradition. We have succumbed to our customs and tribal traditions. The result is catastrophic. We are losing our women. Do you know how many Muslim women left Islam? They left Islam. They say, I'm not proud to be a Muslim. If this is the way Muslims treat me, I'm not a Muslim. But then I have to emphasize that Islam in theory is something, and the practice and the behavior of the Muslims is something else. We should not blame it on the Quran or Islam. We should blame it on our own selves. This is our own failure. When our women are behind, they are not treated well, with respect, with honor. They are not partners in our communities and societies. This is our own failure and shortcomings, and we have to fix it. The majalis of Imam Hussein, if they cannot fix these social ills, then they have no benefit. They'll be in vain. We come to these majalis to change ourselves. And one of the things that we have to look into and take it serious and try to reform it is the condition and the role and the contributions of women in our societies. Women are either our mothers who carried us and protected us, or our sisters who grew up with us, or our wives who are partnering with us, or our daughters who are going to be a source of comfort for us tomorrow. They are part of our life. No society today can function, can succeed if 50% of its population is being forgotten and marginalized? Women make 50% of our societies. We cannot neglect them. This is why tonight it's important for me, because at the end I'd like to speak about al-Baneen, iconic figure in the camp of Imam Hussein. Great leader, great female, who raised 4 children, an example for us, and gave all her 4 children. She gave them for Islam, for you and me, to be safe here, to enjoy our religion today. I will end up with al-Baneen, inshallah. And one night I dedicate for Lady Zainab alayhi salam. It's not good for us to mention only the male companions and we forget about the females. We also have to change this tradition in Pakistan, in India, in Iran, in Iraq. 2 or 3 nights within these 10 the 10 nights have to be dedicated, the musibah has to be dedicated for female companions and partners of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. This is how we honor him. Because he, Imam Hussein, he did not leave Medina without his sister Zainab. Zainab was married. She had a husband, Abdullah bin Jafar, her first cousin. She had a family. She had children. She took 2 of her children with the approval of her husband to come to Karbala. Imam Hussein did not bring her to clean and cook and prepare the bed. No, no. My friends, believe me, without the sacrifice of women, headed by Lady Zainab, you wouldn't have heard about Imam Hussein today. You wouldn't have enjoyed Quran and Sunnah and Islam and faith and relationship with God today. It was due to Lady Zainab alayhi salam. Half of the job was done by Imam Hussein, administered by Imam Hussein. The other half was administered by Lady Zainab alayhi salam. She carried the legacy of Imam Hussein. She carried his voice. She carried his message in Karbala, in Kufa, in Damascus, in Medina, in between. This is why he made a wise decision. Ibn Abbas, his cousin, said to him, why do you take, if you are going with your own feet to be killed, to be martyred, فَمَا مَعْنَا حَمْلُكَ هَؤُلَاءِ النِّسْوَةِ, I don't see any reason for you to take women. Imam Hussein said to him, this is the will of God, not my will. Because Zainab is going to have a role. Don't look down at her. She has a great role in Karbala. Without Zainab and her engagement and her participation, I cannot succeed. My revolution is not going to be successful. I need to take Zainab. God wants me to take Zainab with me and women and my family and my children. So here, what do we do, my friends? How do we empower our women? How do we elevate their status? How do we encourage them? How do we empower them? How do we promote them? How do we infuse them with self-worth and self-confidence? What is the way? What is the way for equality in the society between men and women? How we make our women honorable and very effective and influential members in our societies. How do we do that? There are 2 parts and 2 responsibilities. One, there are certain steps that have to be taken by men, you and me, by their husbands, by their children, by their fathers, by their brothers. The other side, the other part, is what women themselves have to do for themselves, to help out themselves. Let's begin with our role as men. How do we help our women? How do we protect them? How do we empower them? How do we really make them real partners with us in our struggle, in our life? Number 1, my friends. Number 1. Muslim women today, you know what they need the most? Maybe more important than food and a drink and a clothing, and they need respect. They need acknowledgement. Our women have to be respected and honored. Look at the example of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with his daughter Fatima, with his wife Khadija, with other wives. Look how he treated them, how he honored them. Fatima, who's the daughter of the Prophet, younger than the Prophet, many years younger than him, when she comes into a session, the Prophet stands to receive her. He does not sit, he stands. He stands. Standing. He makes a public gesture that Fatima is a leader. Fatima is honorable. I respect her as a female. He came to a society where they used to bury their daughters alive. Women had no place, no say, no respect, no future. Women were treated like animals. Even sometimes a camel had more price in the market than a woman. The Prophet came to that society. But he made a public declaration that women are first-class citizens, not second-class citizens. We have to respect them. So don't look at women as being second-class citizens. Don't look down at them. Don't look at them as being mere servants. They came to serve us, subordinates to us. This is not right. This is not right. And never think that God created women less intelligent, less capable, less spiritual, less important. He never. In fact, if you look at the Quran, when God speaks about men and women, He equalized between them. فَاسْتَجَابَ لَهُمْ Surah Al-Imran chapter 3 فَاسْتَجَابَ لَهُمْ رَبُّهُمْ أَنِّي لَا أُضِيعُ عَمَلَ عَامِلٍ مِّنْكُمْ مِّنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنْثَى. I do not diminish, I do not reduce the work, I do not overlook the work and the contribution of neither men nor women. Women, their contribution is important in Islam. In another verse, in Surah An-Nisa chapter 4, لِلرِّجَالِ نَصِيبٌ مِّمَّا اكْتَسَبُوا وَلِلنِّسَاءِ نَصِيبٌ مِّمَّا اكْتَسَبُوا. Men get their share of what they earn, and also women should get their full share from what they earn, from what they do. There is equality. There is equality. And we don't say there is equality because we want to kiss up to the Americans and make them happy about our... No, this is the fact. This is what my conscience tells me. My religion, my faith, my principle tells me. That men and women are equal. I'm not saying this so the West, they enjoy my speech about it. No, it's not about that. It's not a public show. This is genuine statement. Men and women are equal. I believe in that. I believe before God, and I'm responsible for what I am saying on this minbar, on this sacred place. It's not only slogan. It's not just for marketing. This is genuine. Men and women are equal in the eyes of God. And in numerous occasions we find many women supersede men in their contribution and in their significance and in their loyalty to Islam and their families. My friends, you look at yourself. The great people among you, and all of you are great, alhamdulillah, and important. You are the products of your mothers, believe me. The products of many years of hard working and sacrificing of your mothers. Your mothers made you reach this stage today. So this is on part of men. We have to treat them with respect. Women are not subordinate to us. Now sometimes someone comes to me and says, say it, hey, say it. But how about the Quran, your book? Your book says, وَلِلرِّجَالِ عَلَيْهِنَّ دَرَجَةً. Men have a degree over women, above women. How do you translate that? How do you interpret that? وَلِلرِّجَالِ, and for men, they have a degree above women. عَلَيْهِنَّ دَرَجَةً. This is in the Quran, in your book. My friends, we must read the Quran with open-mindedness. Not through the patriarchal system that has dominated the Muslim societies for so many centuries. Not through men dominance. We have to read it with objectivity, with honesty, with understanding, with open-mindedness. When God says men have a degree over women, he did not mean that men are superior to women or better than them. What he meant in this verse, that they have a degree in responsibility in protecting and maintaining their women and their families. This is what he meant. This is the meaning of the Quran. Why? Because men have been endowed with physical abilities, maybe stronger physical abilities, maybe different physiological capabilities. Therefore God says, because you are stronger, and remember, in the past, there was no technology, there was no science, there were no computers. So most of the labor, 99% of the labor depended on what? On your muscles. The breadwinner would use his muscles in the past. He would not sit like today. You can sit in your bedroom with your laptop open and hook up to your company and make money out of that. He had to leave the house. He had to venture out the house, out of the house. It was very difficult. Sometimes circumstances were very dangerous. There were no safety, no security. Women were being kidnapped, harassed. This is why God says, men have a degree in responsibility because they have been endowed with more strength, more equipment. This is why they have more responsibility. This is number one. Number two, it is because since the dawn of the history, it is men who propose to women. It is the men who initiate the family. You go and ask for her hand. She doesn't come to your house. You were the one who begged her. You kneeled before her. Do you remember that day or not? Please marry me, please. And you kissed her hand and you kissed somewhere else probably. So she would accept marrying you. So you initiated the family. You established the family. Therefore you have a bigger responsibility in protecting your family, maintaining your family. Another verse in the Quran, this is chapter 4, Surah Al-Rijalu qawwamuna ala al-nisa. Those who use domestic violence at home, those who exercise domestic violence at home and hit their wives, and they become frustrated and angry, and they kick them out sometimes, and they deprive them from their basic needs. Sometimes they use this verse to control their wives. They say Quran is justifying controlling my wife and my family. Quran says, Ar-Rijal, men are qawwamun, above women. And qawwamun here means they are in charge and control. So I am following the book. No, you are not following the book. You are following your own desire, your own whim, your own self. You are not following the book. The book is not saying you are controlling, you have to control. The book says, Ar-Rijalu qawwamun. Qawwamun does not mean superiority or control. Means more maintenance and more responsibility. So Ar-Rijal, men are maintainers and caretakers of women. Because you are a breadwinner. You are a caretaker. You are the one who spends money. Therefore, you are maintainer, not in control. Nothing in Islam suggests that men have to control women. Nothing. Islam does not advocate controlling anyone. Even your kids, even your parents. You control no one. If you can control yourself, that would be great. If you try to control yourself, not others. Okay? Quran says family is based on cooperation and mutual understanding between the husband and the wife. Controlling does not work, my friends. Believe me, it doesn't work. Stay away from it. Change your perception. Change your understanding of what God is telling you. Don't try to control her. Control her breath, her movement, her actions, her emotions. You can't. She's free. This is not marriage, this is slavery. And it is going to fall apart. And you're going to lose your wife and lose your children and lose your future. It's all about a mutual understanding. Mutual cooperation between the husband. Even when they reach a decision, they have to incorporate shura, consultation. Consult with your wife. Do you know that Prophet Muhammad, do we have someone greater than him? We don't have. He's the greatest man on earth and in the heaven. Whenever he wanted to make an important decision, he would consult his wives. And some of those wives did not go to school. They had no education, but still he consulted them. Why? So me and you, when we come after him, we follow his tradition. We learn from him. Family should be based on mutual consultation between the husband and the wife. Mutual agreement. Regarding your kids, their education, where you live, what you eat, where you travel, anything. The expenses, the finances, it has to be mutual agreement. Family is based on harmony, not dictatorship. No one can be dictator, neither the husband nor the wife. They have to respect each other. And I'm going to speak about marriage soon, maybe in a couple of nights, because our marriages are falling apart nowadays. Maybe not you, alhamdulillah, you are very safe, but when I speak, every night when I speak here, I don't intend to address you as a person. I'm addressing our communities, our societies, everywhere, Muslims everywhere. Now we come to the things that women have to do for themselves. Many women complain about their situations. They have no role, they have no say, they are dominated by men, they are this, they are marginalized, they are forgotten, they are, disrespected. But sisters, if you hear me, you have to do something for that. You have to do something for yourself. There are certain things you must, if you want to increase your value, increase your contribution, increase your significance. If you want to have a voice, then you must help yourself. And I'm going to mention a 3 or 4 points. Through these points, women can help themselves, promote themselves, occupy the right position, the right place, the right role in the society. Number one, my sisters, at all ages, education and ilm is a major key for success in this life. No person, be it male or female, can succeed in this life that God created for us without ilm, without knowledge, without education, without learning. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, العلم رأس الخير كله. Ilm, learning, is the fountainhead of every success and every goodness in this life. So the path to success and achievement goes through learning. You have to educate yourself. Ilm should not be monopoly between men, only men. The Prophet says, طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم ومسلمة. It's mandatory upon every male member and a female member. And he was the first pioneer and the first leader who initiated teaching women in his society and his community. Rasulullah himself, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But unfortunately, when you read our literature today, in some countries, maybe not here in America, but in some countries, they still, until this moment, they argue that women should not go to school. Taliban, which is going to take Afghanistan within 2 weeks or 3 weeks into the Stone Age again, Stone Age and the Dark Age and the Ice Age. When they came to power 30 years ago in Afghanistan, they forbade girls from going to school. In fact, they demolished girls' schools. They demolished them. What was the result? More ignorance, more deterioration, more backwardness, more sickness, more diseases, more fightings, more sufferings. This is not the way. It's not the way to ban them from studying. Why? Because they might be deviated, because knowledge deviates them. Knowledge does not deviate anyone. On the contrary, knowledge makes us true human beings, more responsible, more human, more virtuous. There is no danger in knowledge. There is no danger in learning. So this is a myth that women should not work. It's a myth. Encourage your daughter to seek knowledge. Encourage her. Provide her with help. Stand with her. Promote her. Be with her all the time. Tell her you have to study. Go get college degree, university degree, higher degrees, advanced studies. Especially in this country, there is no excuse for us that our sisters and our daughters do not seek higher education in America. There is no excuse for us. Maybe back home it's not available for them, but here they must advance in knowledge. And there is no limit for knowledge, my friends. They can get knowledge before marriage and even after marriage. And this is why I call upon those good husbands among you. If your wife wants to continue her education, encourage her. Don't tell her, no, I married you so you cook the food for me, to clean my room, to do the bed for me. No, this is not her job. This is not her job. Try to cooperate with your wife. You may become a babysitter. What's wrong with that? If your wife is educated, she is going to add value to your family. Your problems are going to be less and less. She's going to help you to find solutions. Not only help you with finances, she would help you with her knowledge and her wisdom. You're going to reap the benefit. You are not going to lose. So allow her to study. Help her to study. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And sometimes, my friends, learning could be online. You don't have to go to a specific place to travel, to commute. She can be at home, taking care of her family, at the same time studying. Distance courses, online courses. Knowledge is available nowadays. There is no excuse for you that there is no school nearby. Today you can bring every university, every school into your bedroom through the technology. So we have to encourage them. They have to study, because women are the teachers of our children. And if women do not appreciate the value of knowledge and learning and education, they are not going to encourage your children to study tomorrow, unless she is educated herself. Because she now knows the worth and the value of education. How education changed her life. It changes our life, my friends. So we have to encourage them to go to school. This is number one. This is a must. This is a key element in advancing our women in every society. In every society, learning, studying. And also we need professors and lecturers. We need to encourage them. This business of majalis should not be a monopoly only for men, dominated only by male and men. We have some bright minds on the other side. Allow them, give them a chance. I go to certain cities and states and I find that on the board of directors, on the board of trustees, there are some women and sisters. Good thing, this is good. This means that we are adhering to the teachings of our religion. Give them a chance, encourage them to come forward, allow them to work, to give, to contribute. This is number one. Number two, the concept of sacrifice. Friends, there is no enterprise, there is no project today in this life that can succeed without sacrifice, without dedication. No matter what you do. You must put your full effort. You must dedicate yourself to that project, to that enterprise. And raising safe and good and successful family is the most important project that we have endowed with. And it requires a greater level of sacrifice and dedication from both parents, not just mothers, not just women, from fathers and mothers both. But when women work hard in the family and they sacrifice for the sake of their families and their kids, they're going to reap the benefit, believe me. Today when I look at some of you, here and elsewhere, you are extraordinary people. You are accomplished, you are bright, you are intelligent, you are hardworking. And then slowly I ask a couple of questions. I realize that behind this great success is someone called a mother at home. He has a good mother. Sometimes I see families, two brothers, they married two different wives, of course. Their wives are different. One of them have a great children, the other, he does not have a great children. And you find out the reason was the mothers are different. One of them is dedicated. One of them does not waste her time elsewhere. She invests her life on her family, dedicates her entire time and life and energy and effort on her family, on raising heroes, raising men who build their communities, build themselves, build their countries. Mothers have to be with the kids from the first moment, when she's nursing him. When the child is baby, she has to be with him. And this job is sacred because she instills in him not just food, not just physical food. She instills in her baby, she plants in her baby the values, the principles, patience, steadfastness, generosity, kindness. We learn it from our mothers, my friends. There are two types of mothers. One of them, and those are very few. Luckily, they are very few. She's a babysitter. Yes, she cooks the food, she prepares the bed, she cleans the house, but she does not teach her children anything. On the other hand, we have mothers who are murabbiyah. Murabbiyah means nurturers and mentors and teachers. Beside giving the physical food for their children and their family, they give them moral and intellectual and philosophical food. This is more important. This type of food is only found at home, and you get it from your parents. Today at this time and age, my friends, what we need the most, we need murabbiyah, nurturer. We don't need a nanny or babysitter. We need our mothers, the wives, to be nurturers, to be examples. And a good mother, you know what she does? She's not just a teacher, because sometimes a teacher teaches you something good, but he does not practice it himself or herself. But good mothers are the one, when she tells her son and daughter to be truthful, she is truthful herself. When she tells her son and daughter to be honest, she is the honest one. As I said the first night or the second night, our children, they observe us, they watch our behavior. This is why, because of this, because of her great sacrifice, the hadith says, al-hadith al-nabawi, al-jannah tahta aqdam al-ummahat. You cannot make it to paradise unless underneath the feet of your mother, the approval of your mother. Because your mother worked very hard, very hard. If she's still alive, go to her and thank her every second. Never insult your mother. Never, ever. Why Hussein is great? Because he had a great mother like Fatima alayhi salam. From age of 3 and 4, when the beggar comes asking for food, Fatima taught their children that there is one outside who's more hungry than us. We can survive a couple of days. This was the teaching of Mother Fatima. Let's give our food. The food was only loaves of bread, 5 loaves of bread, no more than that. The first night, the second night, the third night. It was the mother, father. This is why when Hussein at the age of 4 and 5 was able to give his food to the beggar, at the age of 58 he gave his soul for the sake of Allah. It was easy for him. He never hesitated. But if his mother Fatima did not teach him to give his food, he would hesitate to give his life for the sake of God. But that was the teaching and the inspiration of Fatima, the training of Fatima. She taught them, while they were only 4 and 5, that you must give. There are a priority in this life. There is something called sacrifice in this life. If you want to succeed, you must sacrifice. So by that age, Hussein was ready to give his soul, not only his soul, but his entire family for the sake of God. This is the work of Lady Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. Let me conclude before I go to al-Banin with one more item of how women promote themselves, increase their value, empower their own selves. One more thing, one more item. The first item was education, the second was sacrifice, the third one, detachment from the obsession with the dunya. Nowadays, my friends, materialism in the whole world, not just America, every corner of the world you go to today, you find materialism is overriding spirituality. People are attached to the dunya. Imam Hussein said this 1400 years ago. An-nasu abidud dunya. People are enslaved to this dunya. Enslaved to the dunya. Abidud dunya. There are lots of temptations around us. Day and night people talk about money. How to make more money. Seldom people take about akhlaq and manners. Seldom. People consider themselves, if they make some money today, they are successful. If they did not make money, they are not successful. Whereas in fact, if you make today some credit for your akhirah, if you save the life of someone, if you guide someone, if you give food to someone, if you shelter someone, if you smile in the face of someone, that is the real money, that is the real credit, that is the real work, that is the real achievement. These are the things that are going to stay and remain and endure. Otherwise, money comes and goes, believe me. We are not going to carry the money on our shoulder to the grave. We are going to leave it behind. And sometimes we leave it for some people who do not even remember us. I know some fathers died. They bequeathed their children money, millions of dollars. The son or the daughter never even remember their fathers with even one single Surah Al-Fatiha. They took the whole money. They are enjoying the money. They don't even remember the mother or the father. So try to work for your akhirah. Sisters, wives, our women, we have to detach ourselves from the dunya. Enjoy the dunya, enjoy the dunya, enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong on this. Listen to me. Enjoy the dunya. Enjoy your house, your car, your business, your vacation, your health, your family, your food. Enjoy everything. But don't be overtaken by the dunya. Don't be overtaken by the dunya. Don't let the dunya control you. You control the dunya. You control your money. Do not let your money control you. Women, they have to instill values. They are not just chefs. They cook food for us. We learn our values from our women. If women are always crazy about shopping and parties and going out, neglecting their kids, they are not going to deliver a good generation. But if they put their priorities, my children are my priority. Yes, I go out whenever I have time. I meet my friends, I go to weddings, I go to celebrations, I go here and there whenever I have extra time. But my main time is dedicated to raise this 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 kids, because I want them to be leaders. I don't want them to be left out. Women and mothers are our sanctuary at home. The only sanctuary we have in this life are our mothers. So if the sanctuary is gone, there is no other shelter who's going to take care of your son and daughter. Think about their future. You are creating leaders. Be careful. Don't be enchanted and obsessed with the dunya. I know some women who do their 5 daily prayers and they go to majalis, they go to ziyarah, they fast, they go to hajj, they pay charity. But when it comes to the bazaar, they go crazy. Crazy. There is one, I can't, mention many examples. This is confidentiality. One of them, every 2 months, she forces her husband to take me to Dubai because there is good jewelry there. She takes a flight from here, 15, 16, 17 hours. And she does her prayers. Not that she's neglecting the salat or the namaz. No. But this is a disease, my friends. Put an end to it. Go back home tonight, sisters, mothers, men. Go back home and see how many clothing you gathered. Maybe 50% of it, 70% of it, you don't even wear it. You don't even know about it. How many pair of shoes you have? You don't even use them. How many things we have at home, furniture that we don't even know about them. They are stored in the garage. Stay away from that. Use what is necessary. Enjoy what is necessary. Leave the rest for others. Detach yourself. Imam Ali says about the muttaqeen, the pious, one sentence, very important. He says, كَبُرَ الْخَالِقُ فِي أَعْيُنِهِمْ كَبُرَ الْخَالِقُ فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ فَصَغُرَ مَا دُونَهُ فِي أَعْيُنِهِمْ. God became greater in their hearts, therefore the dunya became smaller in their eyes. When God fills your heart, you don't aspire fancy car and mansion here. No. Because you have God, the source of richness. Women, be careful. Enjoy life, but don't be overtaken. Because I've seen, within my 25 years of service in America, I do a lot of marriages and divorces. Some of these divorces, they end up the marriage, they demolish the family because he did not purchase her a diamond ring. So she doesn't like him, she hates him. She divorces her husband. She files for divorce because he's stingy. Why he's stingy? He did not buy me a diamond ring because my friends, they have diamond ring. Diamond ring is not going to make you happy in this life. It is respect and harmony and understanding in the family that is going to make you happy. It is the inner satisfaction, the qana'at. What is it in Urdu? Qana'at, satisfaction? What do they say? I don't know. Teach me some Urdu here. The Farsis, they say qana'at. In Arabic, qana'a. The content. When you are happy with what you have. Something, no, not sabr. Sabr is something else. Yeah. Whatever it, I learn it next time I say it, inshallah. Yeah. This is what makes us happy. Inner satisfaction. Not the diamond ring. Not jewelry, believe me. Let's go to al-Baneen, great mother who delivered great children on the day of Ashura. We remember her. 20 years. For the first time in his life, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, he hears the story of how his father Imam Ali married his mother al-Baneen, Fatima bint Hizam al-Kilabiyya. This is her full name. She comes from an honorable family in Arabia. When did he hear the story? For 33 years nobody told him about the story. At the eve of his martyrdom, at the eve of Ashura, he was standing guarding the camp, the Mukhayyam outside. Lady Zainab came out. She said to him, "My sweetheart Abbas, I have a story to share with you." He said, "What is it?" "I'd love to hear stories from you." He respected Lady Zainab because she's almost 20, 23 years older than him. And he wanted to disembark his horse. She said, no, I want you to stand, to stay on your horse. It is more assuring for my heart when I see you riding the horse, because I know you are defending the camp. She said to him, when my mother Fatima died, our father Ali was very saddened, very depressed. He did not stop crying. His sadness did not end. After well over 20 years, one day he asked his brother Aqil, he said, Aqil, please go and find me a wife, but I want her to be from a household of chivalry and courage and bravery. Aqil asked him, why do you want her to be from the household of chivalry? He said, so I can get a son from her that I save him for the day of adversity. And then Zainab, she holds the rein of the horse. She says to him, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, this camp and women in this camp are your sisters, the family of your brothers Hussein. Imam Ali saved you for this day, the day of Ashura. He said to her, inshallah, I will live up to your expectations. I'll do my best. And this is exactly what he did with his 4 brothers. When Imam Ali married al-Banin, he asked her the eve of the wedding, the eve of the marriage, the wedding, what aspirations you have. You can ask me anything, I will do it for you. She said, I have one request, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Do not call me Fatima. He said, why? Fatima is a beautiful name. She said, yes. Because when you call me Fatima, Hassan, Hussein, Zainab and Kulthum are going to remember their mother. They'll be heartbroken. I don't want the children of the Prophet to be heartbroken. So Amir al-Mu'mineen switched her name from Fatima from the first night into al-Banin, the mother of the sons. And she had begotten 4 sons, 4 heroes. When Imam Zain al-Abidin asked Bishr to go and enter Medina and declare the martyrdom of Imam Hussein before the caravan arrives into Medina. Tell the people of Medina what happened in Karbala. Tell them, inform them about the Shahada, the martyrdom of Imam Hussein. He went and he started reciting this poetry. Ya ahla Yathrib la muqama lakum biha, قتل الحسين فأدمعي مدرار. All the people of Medina, there is no more peace, no more stability in Medina. They said, why? What happened? Why? He said, because Hussein has been murdered. So pour down your tears. They said, where is Hussein? الجسم منه بكربلاء مضرج. His body has been decapitated in Karbala. والراس منه على القناة يدار. But his head is atop a lance being taken from one place into another. He says, while I was eulogizing Hussein and telling people about Hussein, I saw an honorable lady approaching me, crossing the lines. She was carrying a baby. I asked about her. She came to me. She asked, how about my son Hussein? I said, whose son? Who is she? I don't know her. I asked about her name. They said to me, she is al-Banin. She is the mother of Abbas and his brothers. I said, Allahu Akbar. How can I inform her about her 4 sons? So I said to her, let me tell her one by one. She did not ask me about her sons. She asked me only about Imam Hussein. I said to her, Ya al-Banin, عظم الله لك الأجر بولدك جعفر. My condolences to you for Ja'far. She said, tell me about Hussein. I don't care about Ja'far. I said to her, عظم الله لك الأجر بولدك عون. She said, I didn't ask you about Aun. Tell me about Hussein. All my children are ransomed, are sacrificed. Then I asked her, عظم الله لك الأجر بالعباس عليه السلام. Once I mentioned the name Abbas, she lost her balance. She lost her balance. And the baby that she was carrying on her shoulder fell down. She kept insisting on me, tell me about Hussein. Finally, what happened? I said to her, يا أم البنين عظم الله لك الأجر بأبي عبد الله الحسين. May God increase your reward for the martyrdom of Imam Hussein. Here she started screaming, وحسينا وولده إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. Oh Allah, accept our a'mal, accept our deeds, accept our du'as, accept our ceremonies, our azah for Imam Hussein, for al-Banin, and reward us, Allah, and keep us on their path. Keep all those who are here. Keep our women, our daughters, our mothers, our sisters, our wives, our children, our elders. Keep them on the path of Ahlul Bayt, on the path of Islam and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and hasten for us the reappearance, the arrival of our grand leader and Imam, superior Imam, Al-Imam Al-Mahdi Al-Muntadhar, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-Sharif. Bestow on us and protect us from any harm, from this disease, from this pandemic. Keep our sessions, our homes, our communities, our cities, our countries, keep them safe, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. وعجل في فرج سيدنا ومولانا صاحب العصر والزمان وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات ثواب الفاتحة مع الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
Hussein, 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 Hussein,
Hussein, Hussein, Hussein, Hussein, Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar, this is the call of Ali Akbar for us, Salah. Allahu Akbar, this is the call of Ali Akbar for us, Salah. Ali Akbar for us, Salah. You be the witness, he has the surah. You be the witness, he has the surah. He has the seerah of Mustafa. Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. Forgive me, Mawla, I am the one who severed your access to Al forgive me, Mawla. I am the one who severed your access to Al-Qamar. Severed your access to Al-Qamar. Riyahi, you are the free one. Riyahi, you are the free one in both the dunya and akhirah. Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, ya Hussain, Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, ya Hussain. Oh Aka, let me go fetch some water for thirsty children from Al-Furad. Oh Aka, let me go fetch some water for thirsty children from Al-Furad. For thirsty children from Al-Furad. Oh, will you come back, Ya Qamar Hashim? Oh, will you come back, Ya Qamar Hashim? Or will this be to your al-wida? Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, ya Hussain, Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, ya Hussain. Ya Ammu, tell me, will I be counted among the martyrs of Karbala? Ya Ammu, tell me, will I be counted among the martyrs of Karbala? Among the martyrs of Karbala. Oh nephew Qasim, you are a hero. Oh nephew Qasim, you are a hero. You are the warith of Mujtaba. Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, ya Hussain, Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, ya Hussain. Ya Ummi, I hear my father calling, Hal min nasir yansuruna. Ya Ummi, I hear my father calling, Hal min nasir yansuruna. Hal min nasir yansuruna. I may be asghar, my heart is akbar. I may be asghar, my heart is akbar. I am the grandson of Murtaza. Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, ya Hussain, Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, ya Hussain. This is the manzil of Mutmainna. This is the moment of Inna Lillah. This is the manzil of Mutmainna. This is the moment of Inna Lillah. This is the moment of Inna Lillah. Lower me into Nashib Sahara. Lower me into Nashib Sahara. To Ummi Zahra, Zul Jana. Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, ya Hussain, Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, ya Hussain. Oh Father Reina, oh Father Reina, this is your daughter, this is Sakina. Oh Father Reina, oh Father Reina, this is your daughter, this is Sakina. This is your daughter, this is Sakina. My heart is broken, my wounds are open. My heart is broken, my wounds are open. Oh Ammu Abba Seba Wafa. Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, ya Hussain, Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, Hussain, Hussaina, ya Hussain. You are the martyr we venerate, your tragedy we commemorate. You are the martyr we venerate, your tragedy we commemorate. Your tragedy we commemorate. We are the Shia, we are your ummah, we are the Shia, we are your ummah, we are the students of Karbala. Hussein, Husseina, Hussein, Husseina, Hussein, Husseina, Ya Hussein, Hussein, Husseina, Hussein, Husseina, Hussein, Husseina, Ya Hussein, Hussein.
Hussein, 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 Hussein. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Please get ready.